Instead, we have the opportunity to make a habit of empathy, to recognize ourselves and each other.
I am Reverend Elouise Oliver. I'm the senior minister at East Bay Church of Religious Science. Our church was voted the best place to worship in the East Bay Express. And we having a good time. I'm having a good time. There's a saying, if I had known I was going to live so long, I would have treated myself better. This is the best time of my life because I'm 79 and I'll be 80 on my birthday. So I'm really seeing the difference in living in a community as opposed to the individualization that happens in an industrialization of people. Because people are not dependent on each other. Each person in an office has their own particular job. And so after several generations of that, people have lost empathy because everyone sees their own job as important. And so it is true that the people don't understand that the policemen are just people with a family that they need to feed and children that they need to send to school, and the policemen probably see the community as someone that makes their work harder. So talking about empathy may help to bridge that gap. That is my hope, is that this conversation will be able to help people to understand. You can't understand anything if you don't talk about it.
So by talking more, that we can kind of bring up empathy and connection.
And young people really, what I notice more than anything is the aging process and how, for instance, I went to the hospital a few months ago, and when I came home, the doctor gave me a cane for balance. And I haven't used it since I've been home. But the other day I was cleaning up and I found it, and it was just sitting there in the kitchen. And when my daughter saw this cane, she just freaked out. "Mama, what you doing with that? You don't use that anymore." It's like, because that cane represents to her that I'm getting old. Now, it's obvious that I'm getting old because she has a grandson. So if she has a grandson, it means she's getting old. But we don't want to see images of that, of what's real. So a lot of what we do is really in denial about what's really going on in life. So that's what I notice. And empathy means the ability to feel what somebody else feels. And as long as you don't actually acknowledge your own pain, you cannot empathize with somebody else's pain. And so we have a great drug epidemic because people take prescription drugs and non-prescription drugs, and it's all about numbing their pain. So we walk around in denial all the time about how we really feel.
And that suppresses the empathy.
That suppresses the empathy because you're not empathizing with yourself. You're not giving yourself credit for the fact that I just don't feel good today. So the culture we live in seems to go out of their way to keep us from feeling what's really going on.
Just a second, it moved this over the microphone, so I was gonna get that microphone back up there.
I worked as a nurse's aide and an LVN, and when a person comes out of surgery, they just automatically prescribe pain medicine for them. And the first time I had an Asian patient, and he had had abdominal surgery, when he woke up and I tried to give him his pain medication, he said, "I don't want that." And I said, "But Mr. So-and-so, you're going to start hurting in a little while." He says, "But you all just cut me open. I should start hurting." And it was amazing that he felt that he wanted to feel this whole process of waking up and having pain, and it made him feel alive. He said he knows that he's normal if he feels pain. And that's such a foreign attitude to American people. It's like, no, we don't want to feel anything. Whatever you have that stops me from feeling, bring it on. So we just don't understand what it's like. I hear people say that when you're a child, that's the best time of your life. I think a teenage years is the worst time of your life, because people expect you to make decisions and you know nothing. And you can make the wrong decision when you can do things in your teenage years that will haunt you the rest of your life. Some things will kill you, like driving fast and making circles in the middle of the street. You know, so many young people have lost control of the cars, and then people on the side are killed, and they are also, but they have not had the experience of pain, so they don't fear anything, you know.
So it sounds like one question I asked is about creating a culture of empathy, a whole culture that kind of supports the value of empathy. So it seemed like the first part of that is to start feeling what you really are feeling, to really express it and to feel your pain. What else can we do to create a culture of empathy?
We can allow people to cry. In the classes that I teach, people don't get to cry very long before somebody starts to comfort them. And it's really not to comfort that person, it's to make them stop so I won't start crying. Because that crying, we're humans and we will feel what each other feels. When a person's crying, they're really in touch with their own pain. And just because they honor themselves enough to feel their own pain, it will cause everybody that's observing to think about their own pain. That's just how life works. And so people will soon want to stop that person from crying, because now real empathy is happening. That just watching that person in pain, they're starting to empathize now, and we don't want to do that. If you can remember your own pain, your own suffering, your own feelings, I can empathize with anyone because I'm a mother. And so what I know is that every person has a mother. So no matter what a person has done, no matter what kind of crime they've committed, what I realize is I don't have to figure out his pain. I can come to him, I can think about him through my own pain because I'm a mother. And so that's what I do with everything. I listen to all kinds of stories. People confess all kinds of things, from murder to child molestation. They tell it all to me. But what I know is, I have 2 sons. If this were my son, what would I want for my son? What I would want for my son would be mercy and healing and treatment and caring. So being raised in a quote-unquote Christian home, I have to want for somebody else's son the same thing I want for my son. And so that's how I live my life. I always can go from a place of a mother. And everybody has one. So I'm not left with that kind of question of what is empathy like. Empathy is like what I feel for my child.
See the world through other people's eyes. Now, empathy is a quality of character that can change the world.